Loops. A loop executes a set of statements a few times until a condition satisfies. There are three types of loops. For loop, that is known as count control loop, because that is controlled by a counting variable. While loop is known as precondition loop, because its condition is checked at the beginning of the loop. Repeat loop or repeat until loop is known as post-condition loop, because its condition checked at the end of the loop. First of all, let's see about the for loop. For loop important facts. For loop is known as a count control loop. For loop is applicable when we know how many iterations to execute. For example, enter 10 numbers. For loop checks the condition at the beginning. For loop header contains conditions and the count both. In for loop, count not use a counting statement using the same count variable, as it will corrupt the execution of the loop. Depending on the situation, can use any other different counting variable. For example, for count equals 1 to 32, count equals count plus 1. This is wrong. Inside the for loop, using same count variable, you cannot use another counting statement. That will crash the for loop. If you really need to have a counting statement, what you can do is you can use another name. Positive count equals positive count plus 1, like that. Enter 10 numbers, calculate total and output total. Total equals to 0, count equals to 0. For count equals 1 to 10 do, count equals 1 to 10 do. Print enter number. Then input number. After input number, total equals total plus number. In this one, this for loop will go 1 to 10, that means 10 rounds. Inside that we say enter number. So user will enter a number that will store in this variable number. After that, we are using this totaling statement. We add that number to the total. Incrementally again and again 10 rounds, number will be taken, store in this variable number that will be added to the total again and again. So at the end of 10 rounds, the final total will be there of 10 numbers. After the 10th round, I print here the final total value by accessing the total variable. Print total is total, final total value. Next example. Enter 20 numbers, calculate total, average, and then output total and average values. Total equals to 0, average equals to 0, count equals to 0. Like that, we can initialize the variables to the relevant initial values. After that, for count equals 1 to 22, we are going to iterate 20 rounds here. Input enter number, number. We ask the user to enter number and store it inside the number variable itself. After that, that number will be added to the total variable. Total equals total plus number. Again and again we will be taken the number, store in the number variable, add that to the total, again and again 20 rounds. At the end of the 20 rounds, we can calculate the average. We have the final total. Since we know how many rounds, that is 20 rounds, we divide the total value by accessing the total variable by 20. Then we get the average value that is assigned to the variable average. Then by accessing the two variables, total and average, we can print the total and average like this. Print the total is, we use the total variable. Print the average is average variable. While loop. While loop important facts, let's see. While loop is known as precondition loop because it's checking the condition at the beginning of the loop. While loop checks the condition at the beginning of the loop. Therefore, if the condition is false, execution will go out of the loop. Because of that, while loop may not execute at least once. While loop is applicable when we know and when we don't know the starting and ending points of an algorithm. Let's see the first example. Example 1. Enter 10 numbers, calculate total and output total. First we take count equals to 0, total equals to 0, like that initial values we set. There we initialize the initial total is 0 because we don't have a total at the beginning. Count is 0 because we did not start counting yet. While count less than or equal to 10. Print enter number, input number. We ask the user to enter number, store that inside the variable number given. Then total equals total plus number. We add the number to the total. After that, we don't have an automatic counting just like in for loop here. So we have to increment the count by 1 using a counting statement in the while loops. Count equals count plus 1. We can use here. Using the same count, we check the while condition. While count less than or equal to 10. We ask the user to enter number, we get it and store in the variable, add that to the total, again increment the count and check whether that reached to 10. Like that we go 10 rounds again and again. At the end, after 10th round, it will stop and go after the execution will go after the end while statement. After that we print the total value. Print total is the total value. Example 2. Enter 50 numbers, calculate total, average, output total and average. Here also I initialize the values. Count equals to 0, total equals to 0, average equals to 0.0. While count less than or equal to 50. Again here we ask the user to enter number. We take that number to the variable number. The values that I have given in the right side are for your reference. Then that number will be added to the total. Total equals total plus number. After that we increment the count by 1. Count equals count plus 1. Then we come to the end while statement. Again we go to the beginning of the loop and see whether the count reached to 50. If not, again get the number, store in the variable number, add that to total, increment the count by 1. That will happen again and again 50 rounds. At the end of the 50 rounds, we divide the total by 50 and get the average. That average will be assigned to the variable average and print the total by accessing this variable. Total is total, average is average. So what is this? This is a trace table. Trace tables are very important. Trace tables are given for pseudocode questions as well as for flowchart questions. Trace table implies how values are changing over time during the execution time for these variables. When you are doing pseudocode questions, any algorithm question, you can draw a flowchart. For a flowchart or a pseudocode, you can draw a trace table and you can see how values are changing. Let's see the next example. Example 3. Example 3 enters set of numbers until user input 0. This is a situation where we don't know how many iterations to execute. It can be 2-3 rounds or it can be 12-20 rounds also. Calculate total and average, output total and average. So what is the exit criteria of this algorithm? When user input 0, algorithm will stop. Count equals to 0, total equals to 0, average equals to 0. Print enter number, input number. Then we start the while loop condition. While number not equal to 0. That is our condition. In this condition we have number not equal to 0. Therefore, we need to have a number to check. That's why this input number here. So wherever we use the input value for the condition, that value need to input before start the loop and inside the loop before you stop the algorithm 2 times. Again, before start the loop and at the end of the loop also. Count equals 0, total equals 0, average equals 0. Print enter number, input number, while number not equal to 0. Total equals total plus number. Then we have a number taken here that we can add it to the total. After that we increment the count. Count equals count plus 1. This we can access for the first round. After that, when we inside the loop, only the statement that are inside the loop can execute. We can't go beyond the loop and get the values. So second round onwards, in order to get the user's input value, we have to use the same statements again. Print enter number, input number, and while. After user input 0, the loop execution will finish and it will go after the end. Execution will go after the end while statement. After that, average calculations will be done. Average equals total divided by count. Then we can output print total is the total value, print average is the average value. Repeat loop. Repeat loop also very important in some cases, especially when we need to check the condition at the end of the loop. We have to use repeat loop. Important facts about repeat loop. Repeat loop is more suitable when we need to check the condition at the end of the loop. Since the repeat loop is checking the condition at the end, it may execute at least once, even if the condition is false. Repeat loop examples. The first example, let's see. In example 1, we enter 10 numbers and calculate total, average, then output total and average. First of all, we have to initialize the variables. That means we have to set the initial values to the variables. Count equals to 0, total equals to 0, average equals to 0. Then we'll start in the repeat loop. As you can see here, in the repeat loop, we check the condition at the end. Repeat these steps until count equals to 10. Input enter number, total equals total plus number. We ask the user to enter number and store that number in this variable number, and that number will be added to the variable total. And then increment the count by 1. Count equals count plus 1. That will go until count equals to 10. After that, we calculate the average. Average equals total divided by 10. After that, we print total and average. Print total, average. Let's move on to the example 2. Example 2 enters set of positive numbers until user input 99. So in this question, we can enter any number of numbers, 2, 3 numbers, 10 numbers, 20, 50, any set of numbers. When user input 99, that is the exit criteria, process will stop and whatever the outputs that are set will be given. Calculate and output total and average. Total equals to 0, average equals to 0, count equals to 0. Repeat input enter number, comma number. That means we are asking the user to enter number and store that in the variable number. Total equals total plus number, count equals count plus 1. That process will be done until number equals to 99. When user input 99, it will go out of the loop, then we calculate average. For 99, we have to exit, but when user input 99, that will be added to the total and count also incremented by 1, because the condition will be checked at the end. So we have to correct that error. When we are using any other number as the exit criteria other than 0, always we have to correct the error. So we have to deduct 99 from total and we have to deduct 1 from count. Then error will be corrected. After that you can output the total, print total is total, print average is average. Example 3. Example 3. Here, enter 100 positive numbers, calculate and output total, average, highest and lowest values. Total equals to 0, average equals to 0, highest equals to 0, lowest equals to 10,000. In my another lesson, I taught you why we are using highest equals to 0, lowest equals to 10,000. Go back to the first lesson and see. For count equals 1 to 102, that is repeating. In this example, actually we can use two methods. We can use for count equals 1 to 102 and here next count, or else here you can use the repeat loop like this, here repeat and at the end until count equals to 100. Both methods correct. After that we are using another repeat loop. Print enter positive number. Input number until number greater than 0. So until number greater than 0, until number is a positive number, this loop will run. And get a positive number, then go out of the loop. That number will be added to the total using this totaling statement, total equals to total plus number. Then we are checking for highest and lowest numbers. If number greater than highest, then highest equals to number. If number less than lowest, then lowest equals to number. At the end of the main outer loop, we can calculate the final values. Average equals total divided by 100. Then we can print the total, average, highest and lowest with a message like this. That is the end of the loop lesson. I will meet you again with another lesson very recently. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.